The words repeated on an endless loop, but when I stepped into the hallway, they sounded farther away. "The TV's not on downstairs, is it?" I peered out my bedroom door. My dad was sitting on the bottom step now, his broad shoulders hunched forward as he laced up his work boots. The back of his jacket read Flynn Pest Control in block letters. "No? Why?" He picked at a knot with his fingers. "Never mind." I walked across the hall. Sarah was sitting up in bed, a blood pressure cuff on her arm. Lydia, her nurse, had arrived early that day, and the room filled with the thwick, thwick, thwick of the pump. She put on her glasses to read the gauge. "Did you hear that?" I asked. "What?" Sarah's black hair was messy at the crown, where it rubbed against the pillow. Lydia didn't look up until she'd marked Sarah's blood pressure on her notepad and pulled the stethoscope out of each ear. We were all quiet for a moment, straining to hear past the machine by Sarah's bed, which hissed and sighed like a living, breathing thing. "That bird? The chirping?" Lydia asked. "No, it was different." I went to the window and opened it, but the words were much harder to hear now, over everything else. "My faculties must be going. The beginning of the end," Lydia said, the hint of a smile at the corner of her mouth. 40 is approaching. 40 isn't old. I knew she was kidding, though. She sorted Sarah's pills into piles on the nightstand. Lydia always had an easy way about her, breezing through even the most chaotic days in our house. She was my mom's best friend, and she'd been a part of our family for as long as I could remember. When I was a kid, I'd lie awake, listening to faint laughter downstairs as they talked at the kitchen table. She was our live-in nanny when we were really little. When we got older, Sarah and I would spend hours with her after school, digging up bugs in her backyard while my parents were still at work. Lydia was 2 years into her nursing degree when Sarah got sick, and she'd wanted to go into private nursing, so it made sense that she'd be the one to care for Sarah as the disease progressed. She'd be there when we couldn't. "What did it sound like?" Sarah asked. Before I could answer, a leaf blower started up outside, drowning out my thoughts. Then my dad appeared in the doorway. "You're not even dressed yet. Jess, come on." I know, I said on my way back across the hall. I pulled on the fuzzy turtleneck and paused, trying to hear the strange chanting again. But the leaf blower was still blasting, and the house was noisier now that everyone was starting their day. My mom must have turned on the radio in the kitchen. Waterfalls by TLC floated up the stairs, the lyrics muffled by my bedroom door. I went through the motions of getting ready, on autopilot as I stepped into my jeans and brushed my hair. I was still standing at the window when Kristen pulled up and honked the horn. Chapter 2. "You're like the guy from that song, Lady in Red." Amber glanced back at me as she unbuckled her seatbelt. "It's like, really? You've known her this whole time and you're only into her now, after seeing her in a red dress? Isn't that a little fickle?" "Or maybe it's totally normal," I said, pushing out into the upperclassmen parking lot. Amber and Kristen were really good friends in a lot of ways, but they had this weird habit of dissecting everything I felt. I couldn't sneeze without it turning into a discussion. "I just didn't realize I liked him until I did," I said. Kristen tied her flannel around her waist. Her long, curly brown hair was still recovering from last spring when she got too enthusiastic with the sun in. "Until you saw him with his shirt off," she smirked. The thing is, she wasn't wrong. It had all started the last week of August, when it was so humid you couldn't walk from the car to the house without your shirt sticking to your back. I worked that summer at the Swickley YMCA, playing the keyboard for the Seniors Sing Choir, but on Thursdays and Fridays I was off. Those empty hours were filled with Saved by the Bell reruns and swimming in Amber's pool, which was in-ground and heated to a perfect 85 degrees. We stayed in the water until our fingers were wrinkly and our eyes were bloodshot from the chlorine.